Video is all about factorization. The word factorization means to put into brackets, okay? And there's actually many ways to factorize. The first way is common factor, all right? That's when you have something like this. And you say, oh, what's in common between 24 and 30x? Well, the highest common factor of both numbers is a 6. So we take a 6 out. How do you get from 6 to 24? You times by 4. How do you get from 6 to 30x? Well, 6 times 5 is 30. And I grab an extra x. All right, that's common factor. There's difference of two squares, which I'll cover in a future video. And a third way is quadratic factorization. And that's what we're going to be covering today. Quadratic factorization, all right? And then sometimes you'll have a quadratic and you can't factorize it using quadratic factorization, so you can do something called complete the square, but don't worry about that just yet. So we're going to be focused on quadratic factorization. In a test, they won't tell you the method to factorize. You have to figure it out for yourself, okay? And that's half the battle when it comes to factorization, choosing which method to use. Should I use common factor? Should I use difference of two squares? Should I use quadratic? And how do I know when to use quadratic factorization? Well, it's when you see a quadratic. Well, what's a quadratic? A quadratic must have 3 terms, okay? That's the first criteria. Let's look at this. Are there 3 terms? Yes. Good. There must be a squared term, all right? Cool, there's a squared term. There must be a single letter term, like 5x or 6x or 7x or minus 2x, just x, so single letter. Boom, and there must be a single number. We call this a constant, a number by itself. There must be a constant. Ooh, yeah, there is a constant, a number by itself. All right, so it's got to fulfill all 4 criteria. Let's have a look here. Are there 3 terms? Good. Is there a squared term? Yep. Is there a single letter term? Yep. Is there a constant? Yep. It's a quadratic, okay? Is this a quadratic? No, because there's a cubed term, okay? It has to be a squared term, x term, and a number term. Is this a quadratic? Nearly, but there's only 2 terms, okay? So how do you factorize a quadratic? Let's get started. What you do is you're going to draw a cross. On the left-hand side, you're going to think of 2 numbers that make x squared. Well, that's pretty easy. X times x is x squared. On the right-hand side, you have to think of 2 numbers that multiply to 6. Well, let's try 6 and 1. All right. Now, this is the most important part. You have to double check. How do you double check? Well, you're going to do x times 6. X times 6 is 6x. And x times 1 is 1x. And you're going to combine them. 6x plus 1x is 7x. Basically, this number here should match the middle term. Are they matching? No. Therefore, it's not going to be 6 and 1. Any other numbers that multiply to 6? Well, how about 3 and 2? So let's double check. So x times 3 is 3x. X times 2 is 2x. 3x plus 2x is 5x. Ooh, they match. Lovely. Okay. Now what you're going to do is, let me move this down. You're going to open up 2 brackets. And you're going to combine the terms diagonally. Very important, you do it diagonally. So it's x and positive 2 and x and positive 3. And we've factorized it, okay? Now let's look at the second question. It says, instead of saying factorize, it says solve x squared plus 5x plus 6. What does the word solve mean? The word solve means to find x. So I see a quadratic, and it says instead of to factorize it, I have to solve it. Now here's one of the most important phrases you have to know in maths, okay? To solve a quadratic, you must factorize it. All right? Oh my gosh, this is so important. To solve a quadratic, you must factorize it. You can't solve a quadratic by doing regular algebra. Regular algebra means like rearranging it. So for example, like, how do I get rid of plus 6? Well, I minus 6, and then I minus 6 here. So I have x squared plus 5x equals 0 minus 6 is minus 6. What would I do next? Well, I can get rid of this x by dividing by 5. But if you divide this by 5, you got to divide all the other terms by 5. So now we have x squared over 5 plus those 5's cancel out. We're left with x equals minus 6 over 5. it's impossible to do like this, okay? If you see a quadratic and you're asked to solve it, you must factorize it first. And before you factorize it, make sure the other side is 0. That's also important. Make sure other side is 0. So someone says solve. I notice a quadratic, so I must factorize it. And also the other side's 0. So we're all good to go. So let's factorize x squared plus 5x plus 6. So what two numbers make x squared? Well, x times x. What two numbers make 6? Well, we kind of did this in the last question. We did 3 and 2. X times 3 is 3x. X times 2 is 2x. We add those up, makes 5x. We combine the middle terms. I mean, we combine diagonally. So x plus 2, x plus 3 equals 0. All right, and what we do this is we're going to get the first bracket, x plus 2, set equal to 0. So something plus 2 is 0. Well, negative 2 plus 2 is 0, so x is negative 2, and that's our first answer. And then we get the second bracket, x plus 3 equals 0. Something plus 3 is 0, well, x must be minus 3. And that's our answer. So in order to solve a quadratic, first make sure the other side is 0, and then factorize it, okay? Here, factorize x squared minus 4x minus 21. All right, so, it's a quadratic. I must use my cross method. So I call this the cross method, by the way. What two numbers make x squared? Well, x times x. What two numbers make negative 21? Well, now, how do I multiply to make a negative number? Well, it's going to be a positive times a negative. So let's think 3 times 7 is 21. So let's do negative 3 times 7, okay? So 3 times 7 is 21, so negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. Let's double check. So always have to double check. X times minus 3 is minus 3x. X times 7 is 7x. Minus 3 plus 7 is positive 4. We want negative 4x. So why don't we just flip it instead? So it's going to be negative 7 and positive 3. Let's check that now. X times minus 7 is minus 7x. X times 3 is 3x. Minus 7 plus 3x is 4x. Oh, it's negative 4x. Cool. We plus because 3x is positive 3x. So minus 7 plus 3. So what we do, open up our brackets. And we combine diagonally. So x and positive 3, x and negative 7. And that's our answer. So now we have the same question, but we're asked to solve it. So I see a quadratic. I have to solve it, so I have to factorize it first. Great, the other side is 0, so we're good to go. So we did it earlier, so x. Two numbers that multiply to negative 21, minus 7 and 3. So minus 7x, 3x, positive 3x. Minus 7 plus 3 is negative 4x. Ooh, that matches. We combine diagonally, so x positive 3, x minus 7 equals 0. Get the first bracket, x plus 3 equals 0. Something plus 3 is 0. Minus 3 plus 3 is 0. So our first answer is minus 3. And then x minus 7 equals 0. Something minus 7 is 0. Well, x must be 7. There we go. Here, solve x squared minus 13x minus 30. Ooh, this is a saucy one. Well, I spot a quadratic. There's a square term, an x term, and a number term. But the issue is the other side is not 0, okay? So what we have to do is we have to move this 30 to the other side. Or just think, how do I get rid of that minus 30? Well, to get rid of minus 30, I can plus 30. I have plus 30 here, I have plus 30 here. So I say, okay, x squared minus 13x plus 30. And that cancels out, so we're left with 0 on the other side. Ooh, I have a quadratic. It's equal to 0. How do I solve a quadratic? I factorize it. So, boom, x. Two numbers that make 30, 15 and 2. Let's check. X times 15 is 15x. X times 2 is 2x. That makes 17x. Well, I want negative 13x. So I have to multiply to a positive number, but it has to combine to make a negative number. Let's think of my multiplication rules. So a positive times a positive makes a positive, but also a negative times a negative makes a positive. So why don't I do negative 15 and negative 2? Let's combine it now. X times negative 15 is negative 15x. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Let's combine those. Negative 15 minus 2 is negative 17x. Close, but not quite. Let's try, I don't know, negative 10 and negative 3. Let's check that. Negative 10 times negative 3 is positive 30. Let's double check. X times negative 10 is negative 10x. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 10 minus 3 is minus 13x. Ooh, it matches. Lovely. So now we can factorize it. So x minus 3, x and minus 10 equals 0. I'll get the first bracket. Something minus 3 is 0. Well, that's just 3. And then something minus 10 equals 0. Oh, that must be 10. And that's our answer, okay? So here, we spotted a quadratic. There's a square term, x term, and a number term. But we had to move that minus 30 to the other side, all right, to make the right-hand side 0. So you might have to do some rearranging first. Next page. Let's make it a bit saucier. How are these questions different? Well, there's a number in front of x squared. 2x squared minus 2y squared. 3x squared, all right? Earlier, it was all just x squared, x squared, x squared. How do we do it, though? Still the same thing. Is it a quadratic? Is there a square term? Yes. Is there a single letter term? Yes. Is there a constant? Yes. Let's do it. So we're going to draw our cross. So think of two numbers that make 2. Well, 2 times 1. And two numbers that make x squared. Well, x times x. So 2x and 1x. 2 times 1 is 2. X times x is x squared. Let's think of two numbers that multiply to 2. Well, that's pretty easy. 2 and 1. We'll do 1 and 2. First, 2x times 1 is 2x. 1x times 2 is 2x. Combine those. 2x positive 2x, so 2x plus 2x is 4x. Does that match with the middle? No, so not quite that. So why don't I do 2 on top and 1 on the bottom. So 2x times 2 is 4x's. 1x times 1 is 1x. Positive 1x. 4x plus 1x is 5x. Ooh, it matches. All right, so I can draw our two brackets out and combine diagonally. So 2x and positive 1 and 1x and positive 2. We don't need to write 1x. We can just write x and positive 2. And we factorized it. And now, let's solve this. So boom. Oh, I have a quadratic. It's equal to 0. To solve a quadratic, we must factorize first. And make sure the other side's 0. It is. So let's factorize it. Well, we kind of factorized it from the first question. We got this. So I'm going to skip some steps and just go straight to 2x plus 1 and x plus 2 equals 0. We'll get the first bracket, 2x plus 1 equals 0. We have to do a bit of algebra here. So x is being multiplied by 2, then being added by 1. So I'll get rid of that add 1 by minus 1. So 2x equals minus 1. X is being multiplied by 2. I'm going to divide 2. X is equal to negative 1 over 2. I'll get my second bracket. X plus 2 equals 0. Something plus 2 is 0. X must be minus 2. And those are our two answers, okay? Here, factorize minus 2y squared minus 7y plus 15. All right, well, so let's do it. Here, think of two numbers that make minus 2. Well, minus 2 and 1. Think of two numbers that make y squared. Well, y times y. Let's think of two numbers that make 15. We can use I don't know, 5 and 3. Let's try that. Minus 2 times 5 is minus 10y. 1y times 3 is 3y. 3y is positive. Minus 10 plus 3 is negative 7y. Ooh, it matches. Perfect. We'll combine diagonally. So minus 2y positive 3, and 1y, positive 5. We don't need that 1, so it's just y, positive 5. And we've solved it, and we've factorized it. Now, the question is to solve. Ooh, I see a square term, a single letter term, and a number term. But the other side is not 0. So how do we get rid of that 15? Well, 15 is positive 15. So I'm going to minus 15 on both sides to make the other side 0. So it's 2y squared plus 7y minus 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. Okay. Now, we have a quadratic. The square term, a single letter term, and a constant. The other side is 0. Perfect. So let's factorize this, because to solve a quadratic, we must factorize. So what two numbers make 2? Well, 2 times 1, and then y times y makes y squared. Think of two numbers that make negative 15. Ooh, okay. Negative 5 and 3. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Let's double check. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10y. 1 times 3 is positive 3y. Minus 10 plus 3 is minus 7y. Close, but not quite. I want positive 7y. So why don't we just flip it? I'll make the 5 positive 5 and the 3 negative 3. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Let's check. 2y times 5 is 10y. 1y times minus 3 is negative 3y. 10 minus 3 is 7y. Beautiful. That's what we want. So we can write 2y minus 3, and then 1y plus 5, which is just y plus 5, equals 0. All right? And we can solve that. Oh my gosh, I don't have much space. Here, you know what? I'm going to move to the next page, a new page. Some other work I was doing. So let's get the first bracket, 2y minus 3, set equal to 0. So how do I get rid of that minus 3? I can plus 3 on both sides. So 2y equals 3. Y is being times by 2. I'll divide by 2. So just using regular algebra, 1.5. That's our first answer for y. And the other one, y plus 5 equals 0. Something plus 5 is 0. Y equals minus 5. And these are our two answers. All right. Here, solve 3x squared equals minus 10x plus 8. Ooh, I see a quadratic, a square term, an x term, and a number term. Okay, so therefore, remember, to solve a quadratic, the other side must be 0. So I always like to keep my square term positive. So I'm going to move both of these to this side. So how do you get rid of minus 10x? We're going to plus 10x. So plus 10x on this side. How do you get rid of plus 8? You minus 8. Minus 8. So on the left-hand side, we have 3x squared plus 10x minus 8. On the right-hand side, minus 10x plus 10x is nothing. Plus 8 minus 8 is nothing, so it's equal to 0. Ooh, we have a quadratic, a square term, an x term, and a number term. And it's equal to 0. Perfect. To solve a quadratic, we must factorize. So we'll use our quadratic cross method. Think of two numbers that make 3. Well, 3 times 1. Think of two numbers that make x squared. Well, x times x. Think of two numbers that make negative 8. I don't know, negative 4 and 2 makes negative 8. Let's check. 3x times minus 4 is minus 12x. X times 2 is 2x. 2x is positive 2x, so minus 12 plus 2 is negative 10x. Are they matching? No. All right, well, we're close, though. Let's flip it only. Let's just flip. So we'll make the 4 positive and the 2 negative. So 3x times 4 is 12x. 1 times minus 2 is minus 2x. 12 minus 2 is 10x. Lovely. All right, so that's matching. So let's factorize. So 3x minus 2, 1x plus 4, or just x plus 4, equals 0. We'll get the first term and solve. So x is being times by 3, then minus 2, so I'll plus 2. plus 2. 3x equals 2. X is being multiplied by 3, so I'll divide 3. X is equal to 2/3. And then I'll get the other one. X plus 4 equals 0. Something plus 4 is 0. X must be minus 4. And those are our answers. So you can try these questions by yourself. So make sure you recognize the question. Is it asking you to factorize or asking you to solve? And in order to solve a quadratic, first of all, make sure the other side is 0. And in order to solve a quadratic, you must factorize first. One of the most important tools in maths. All right, guys, and that's pretty much it.